for the third time in 4 years, by the way. The Celtics are going to meet the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics do it by virtue of a 112-88 stomping of the Sixers. It wasn't a stomping from the beginning yesterday. Sixers led by as many as 9 in the first quarter and the early second quarter, but by the time they were halfway through the second, Celtics had retaken the lead. But this really came down to early third quarter. So Celtics led by 3 at the half. Then Tobias Harris hits a 3 to start the second half. So we're 55-55, 23 seconds into the third quarter. And then the eruption happened. A 33-7 Celtics run the rest of the quarter. 33-10 the entire quarter intact. The Sixers scored 10 points in the third quarter. 88-62 after the frame ball game. Tatum at that point had 42. Embiid at that point had 13 on 4 of 16, and Harden had 9 on 3 of 10. Celtics led by as many as 30 on their way to the win. Jason Tatum ends up with an NBA Game 7 record, 51 points. Steph Curry had that record at 50 for just a couple weeks. He did that in the Kings series, but Tatum eclipses that with 51, 13, and 5 yesterday. Embiid, the MVP, by the way, ends up with 15 points on 5 of 18 shooting, minus 28 in the plus-minus. He had 2 points in the second half on 1 of 6 shooting. Harden ended up with 9 on 3 of 11, 1 of 5 from behind the arc. He had a minus 30 in the plus-minus. Who do I pick on first?
Well,
it's really...
Would you like to hear Joel Embiid pick on everybody else but himself?
Well, let's go to that first, because this is a little bit out of context, but let's hear Joel Embiid pick on everybody else first.
We got the chance to win, but, it's going to take, more than us. We all got to look at ourselves. I got to be better, and I will be better. That's what I'm focused on. All of us, we got to, come back and find ways to just keep improving and, help the team. You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and, we'll be fine.
Well, the part of that, of course, is being latched onto everybody is the me and James, we can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. We need everybody to find ways to be better. It was out of context to the degree that right before that, he was talking about Harden's contract and whether or not Harden would come back. So it was after that, and then he's like, well, all that, I don't know what James is going to do, but me and him, we can't do it alone. So it really wasn't as bad as it's being made out to be. Their performances were as bad as they were being made out to be. That's a different story. By the way, Doc Rivers, who, as we know, as we documented last series, he's got the most 3-1 leads botched in postseason history with 3. Add a 3-2 to that, another 3-2. Here's the full list of them. Leads botched by Doc Rivers in his postseason coaching career. Look at that. 3-2, 3-2, 3. I mean, there's now 4 3-2s in addition to those 3 3-1s that he botched. But again, Harden, let's go back to this because there's blame to go around. Harden scored 45 points on 30 field goal attempts, remember, in Game 1. Then in Game 4, he had 42 points on 23 field goal attempts. The rest of the series, he averaged only 13.4 points in the other 5 games versus the Celtics on 25.3% shooting from the field. And then after Game 4, after that great performance he had in Game 4, this is maybe the most unbelievable stat of them all. He did not score in the fourth quarter in 32 total minutes across games 5, 6, and 7. 0 points, Kelley. Yeah. How many did you score in those 3 games?
Just as many as James Harden.
I believe you did. By the way, this is in contrast. Of course, Sixers fans are like, he's Ben Simmons. This is what Ben Simmons did. Now, he's not Ben Simmons, but if you recall, Ben Simmons at least had the decency not to take shots against Atlanta in the fourth quarter back in the day in 2021 in games 5, 6, and 7 of those series. So basically, Harden and Simmons were traded for each other, and now they both somehow have 3+ games of 0 points in the fourth quarter of a second-round series for the Sixers. Sixers ended up 8 of 37 from behind the arc. I mean, really, honestly, how many times have I said on the show, if you just give me one stat, just let me know how the 3-pointers went. The Sixers were 8 of 37, 21.6% from behind the arc. And remember with them, now they're facing, they're out, Jimmy Butler's in. Jimmy Butler remember, left the Sixers. Jimmy Butler, obviously now with the Heat, going to play the Celtics for the third time in 4 years in the conference finals. By the way, this entire Final Four is the bubble Final Four, redux. But Jimmy Butler's conference finals, since he joined Miami, he's got 3 of them. Sixers, T-Wolves, Bulls, the teams that he used to play for, all have a collective 0. Sixers haven't been to a conference final since 2001 when AI was doing his thing. And Jimmy Butler, remember, he left Philly. Do you remember he came over in the trade? He spent 1 year in Philly. They had a great year. They won 51 games. He got along with Embiid great. But in the end, he cited a couple things. He goes, he never knew who was in charge. He used expletives when talking about it. Never saw eye to eye with Brett Brown, the coach at the time. And essentially, according to Embiid, and Embiid said this on J.J. Riddick's podcast, they essentially picked Simmons over him. And here we are. Celtics in 5, Celtics in 6.
Partially I bet it that way. I'm not laying 525. This is we see how much one injury can affect things. Obviously during NBA playoffs like this, for that kind of number, that's just not something I'm going to play. I'll attack it game by game. But I did play Celtics to win at 5, Celtics to win at 6.
Well, we're showing is plus 245 and plus 360 on 5 and 6 respectively.
Yeah, I got a little bit better numbers than that. Just shop around. That's always like every book's offering these.
What's your thinking on why you're so confident in this?
Because they're a nightmare for what the Heat do offensively. This is a nightmare matchup for them as far as their 3-point shooting. First of all, them and the Knicks last series, this seemed to go under the radar, combined for the worst 3-point shooting series in the past 7 years.
Knicks are terrible.
Okay, yeah. I think that helped cover up how good the Heat might have been. The 3-point shooting has to be there for the Heat to win. The Celtics defend the 3 about as well as anybody has. What they can do on the perimeter is going to make life miserable for the Miami Heat. Turn around the other side, they don't have a lot of great matchups for what the Celtics can do offensively on that side of the ball. I think the biggest thing, though, for me, Gill, it does go back to a lot of the same reasons of why I liked the Bucks so much against them. However you want to order the top 4 best players in this series, it's Tatum, Brown, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. I don't care how you want to order those 4. Mm-hmm. It's those 4. After that, there's about 4 or 5 Boston Celtics before you hit the next best player on the Miami Heat. There's just too. There is a talent imbalance that is so far in the Boston side that it shouldn't matter. Now, I bet 4-1, 4-2 because do I think?
Did you say this before the Bucks series as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Just curious.
Do I think the Celtics are going to mess around and do idiot things and get out coached by Eric Spoelstra
versus Missoula
for at least a game or 2? Yeah, probably. Yes, I do.
Yeah, there's that. By the way, if the Heat win the series and the Lakers win the series, the Miami Heat have home court advantage in the NBA Finals.
It's amazing.
That is a quirk that would surprise many. The 8th-seeded Heat had a better record by 1 game over the 7th-seeded Western Conference Lakers, so they would, by virtue of that, get home court in the NBA Finals. The only other thing to say here, last thing about the Sixers, and I quipped about this last week because I'm a quipper, Kelley. Yeah. I was like, is it too late for Embiid to give his MVP trophy to Nikola Jokic? And I just want to say it again before we put it to rest. Remember how this went down. Nikola Jokic was the favorite to win MVP, and then the Nuggets lost 4 games in a row. They had the nerve, the chutzpah to lose 4 games in a row. And it was, if I didn't know any better, it was like this concerted mainstream media effort to shift everything. From Bill Simmons to Zach Lowe's. Oh, Jokic had 47 kicked basketballs. This is terrible defense. No, that's a great play.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.